Hi, everybody. I want to try to review a little bit. We just finished week 3 on exercise well being, the psychological and physiological aspects of that, as well as talking about exercise adherence. And I appreciate some of you that have really contributed to the discussion on this. And I'm going to address both my online class as well as my on campus class, because on Thursday, all of you will be doing a quiz, a little test online, answering some of the questions that sum up these two chapters. So, my suggestion to you would be, as always, in both keeping up with the class as well as preparing for any of the exams, is to stay on top of the study guide, because on the study guide I have listed at the very beginning of the term the most important concepts and terms that you'll be responsible for, and along the way I'll add some other things which I'm going to do today as a kind of review for Thursday. So again, as in all the tests, you will have on Thursday 75 minutes to complete the test. And so I believe if you go on Blackboard, you'll see you have anywhere between 5:30 in the morning until sometime before midnight to complete that in the 75 minutes. So once you start, the time will start, which is a class period. So if you have your study guide, I would pull that out and we can go over that, both chapters 17 and 18. Chapter 17 being about exercise and psychological well-being, which to me is the most important part of all of it. And then we'll move into exercise adherence. But if you start to look at chapter 17, first of all, one of the things that is huge is that anxiety disorders and all the psychological disorders in our country are off the chart. Some of these statistics are just incredible. It says one of the most common disorders in the United States now are anxiety disorders and depression. And what they've decided, the World Health Organization, they've projected that depression will be second only behind cardiovascular disease as the world's leading cause of death and disability by 2020. So that's next, coming up in a couple of years. So let's start to talk about some of the reasons for and what exactly is well-being. So on page 206 of this 6th edition, take a look at this. I want you to know, because you'll see it again, the 6 dimensions of well-being. And the very first one, which to me is critical to everything, as you know from some of my other lectures, self-acceptance. This is your self-concept. So positive views of oneself, that's the primary dimension of wellness. And then we have, if you're the healthier, the more well you are, the more fit you are, the more positive relationships you have with other people. So it goes, why do you have more positive relationships? Trusting, caring, and you're more empathetic in your relationships. So that's really important. You're able to be more self-determined and more inclined to have intrinsic motivation, which is what we really want to encourage our students to have, and if you're in coaching, because it comes from within. You don't have to dangle the carrot to say you're going to get a trophy or recognition. So intrinsic motivation is more long-lasting, and that's what we shoot for. You're able to master your own personal goals and values and adjust to your environment. Personal growth. Most people, when the healthier they are, the more fit they are, they do it only because of a sense of development and self-fulfillment. It's not how they're going to impress someone else by the way their body looks. And then 6th, which is really, really important, the 6th dimension of well-being is purpose in life. You're more purposeful and more directed. So next we start moving into differentiating between acute and chronic effects from exercise. Acute effects from exercise is more like they dub as a runner's high. It happens pretty fast, but it's not very long lasting. Where chronic effects are long lasting, they have a little motto that you probably will see again, that says a sound mind in a sound body. So chronic effects from exercise are something that's long lasting and what we want to shoot for. Another thing you want to know as we start going through this chapter that really are important, it talks about on page 411 guidelines for using exercise to enhance your mood. All of us have days that we're kind of a little bit down or don't have the energy. And what can we do to kind of boost our energy? And one of the things it says, and it has a whole list, is it has to be rhythmic abdominal breathing. So you have to really kind of get it revved up. You can't be able to just chit chat. Rhythmic abdominal breathing. It's been proven that's effective. Also, elimination of competition. That enhances your mood. It doesn't cause you to be more stressed out. The duration, intensity, and frequency also matter. And lastly, but it's one of the most important things, is enjoyment. You have to really enjoy what you're doing. It has to be fun in order for it to improve your mood. And so whenever you're talking to a group, as I'm talking to you, about why should you care about psychological impact and the wellness of exercise, is that we need to really be aware of what are the benefits. And so in our motivation chapter, one of the most important strategies for motivating yourself or others, as I always say, is remembering the why. Why are you doing this? Because when you're pumping weights or you're running or you're doing something, you're going, oh, why am I even doing this? Let's take a look and see what are some of the benefits, both psychological and psychological. So physical and psychological benefits on page 412 in your book. And these are the kinds of things, those of you in my online class, when I prompt you for discussion, I want to see that you've really not only read but grasped the concepts that you've read in that particular chapter. And when I give the prompts, I want you to engage in that. And the same thing with my on-campus class. Read the chapter first, so when we talk about these things in class, you can be more engaged. So again, on page 412, it's going to talk about, if you're going like, well, I don't know why I'm going to exercise. I've had honor students that, due to time and energy levels, grades are their number one thing, and so exercise has to take a back burner. But as we look here at benefits of exercise, at the top of the list about exercise, the number one thing is exercise increases academic performance. There you go, to all the honor students. It increases, because one of the things, it increases your confidence, it increases your intellectual functioning. So you can go through all the different things. It increases your body image, and it decreases, businesses love this because it decreases their absenteeism at work. It decreases alcohol abuse, anger, anxiety, all sorts of things. So go through there and look. Along with that, on the same page, on 412, it gives both physiological as well as psychological explanations for all of those benefits. And so with the physiological explanations about why working out vigorously, it changes your mood, changes your health and your well-being, is one of the things is it totally changes your brain. And the top of the list, it says it increases cerebral blood flow. It changes your brain neurotransmitters. So go through the whole thing. Psychological explanations, it enhances your feeling of control. It enhances your feelings of competency and self-efficacy, your self-esteem. And one of the things we find out is that the more unfit a person was before, and as they work out, the quicker we see a dramatic change in the way they see themselves. Their self-esteem absolutely changes in a more dramatic way than a person who's working out all along and just sort of revs it up a little bit. And it absolutely changes personality. So in terms of self-concept, that's one of the most important things. So again, take a look at this chapter because there'll be all kinds of things in here we'll see. We've seen the term before, hardiness. So here we see in the personality chapter. Now we're going to see it again here in the chapter on exercise. Exercise and hardiness go hand in hand. So as we learned in the chapter on personality, hardiness is a personality style that enables an individual to be able to handle adversity, the things in life that take us to our knees. And what it's saying in this chapter on exercise and well-being is that the more hardy you are, the more likely you are to be able to handle adversity, stress, the things in life that take you down. So what it's saying, it's a personality style that enables a person to withstand and cope with stressful situations. Who in us in life don't have that? So here's the 3 traits that they state that you would know that you have this personality trait of hardiness. And even if you don't have it, throughout the class we're going to talk about resiliency and ways to enhance that. So first of all, number 1, a sense of personal control over these external events. The things that create the most stress are things that are unexpected and uncontrollable. 2, a sense of involvement, commitment, and purpose in daily life. And 3, the flexibility to adapt to unexpected changes, uncontrollable things, see, everything's perception, by perceiving them as challenges or opportunities for further growth or development. So that's the key right there. Part of exercise and hardiness is the flexibility to adapt to changes by perceiving them as opportunities or chances for development or growth. So that's huge. So that's again on page 416. So take a look at that. Talks about the runner's high on page 419. And then let's switch over to our chapter on exercise adherence. And you can again refer to your study guide. And the most important thing in this chapter, as I've said over and over again, is the trans-theoretical model. In the trans-theoretical model, there are stages of change that an individual will go through in trying to adhere to an exercise program. And I want you to be familiar with these. You were supposed to talk about this, those of you in my online class, about which stage are you currently in and what steps or measures can you take to progress to the next level. My on-campus class, you all have had to address this as part of your homework project individually that you'll turn in. And so the trans-theoretical model is on page 433, and it goes all the way from pre-contemplation. Of course, to contemplate means to think about. So if it's pre-contemplation, they're not even thinking about it yet. They dub them as couch potatoes, not even thinking about exercising. Then we move into the second stage, contemplation. And in this stage, these individuals are seriously considering exercise, and they really seriously intend to exercise in the next 6 months. And what's interesting in this stage is even though they really seriously intend to exercise in the next 6 months, typically they do not get around to it until the next 2 years. It takes about 2 years before they really get into it. They even have a little cyclical pattern, a diagram on page 434. And then in the third stage, it's preparation. They're exercising a little bit, but fewer than 3 times a week. So take a look at that. The action stage. Now, what's really key to note at this stage, this is the least stable stage of all of the stages. And this is one of the highest risks at this stage. At the action stage, is the highest risk to relapse, to fall off the wagon. Maintenance stage, they've been exercising regularly for more than 6 months, but it still can become a problem. We have to look at the barriers and the obstacles. So go through all this. But termination stage, it's a kind of weird kind of a term to say termination, because some people think that means you quit. Termination, what that means is that you've been exercising regularly 3 or 4 times a week for at least 5 years. It's become part of the fabric of your life, and most likely you're never going to stop being active. I don't even like the term exercise. I like the term of just play with purpose. You always stay where you are running, jumping, playing. When you were a kid, you jump in the pond and swim, you chase fireflies, you do tag, and it wasn't, I'm going to go work out now. So what are some of the ways, well, let's go back to, well, why don't people work out? We already know all the benefits. Why wouldn't we do it?